Hello, gorgeous. Welcome to HG Radio, everything beauty, cancer, and inspiration. Here is your co founder and host, Kim Becker.
Hello, gorgeous, and thank you for joining us today. I'm your host, Kim Becker, and this is Hello, Gorgeous, everything beauty, cancer, and inspiration on Society Bites Radio, social interaction for the mind and soul. Our guest today is Bethany KANDEL. Bethany is a New York City-based journalist who was diagnosed with breast cancer 12 years ago when she was 50 years old, and right after she had taken her oldest son to college. She began writing about the subject for magazines and websites. Along the way, she discovered hundreds of free resources and helpful items available to those on their cancer journey. Looking to start a website that didn't exist for cancer patients, she began compiling them and then created the website breastcancerfreebies.com. The site serves as a portal to help patients and survivors find free wigs, hats, retreats, gift cards, makeovers, magazines, support groups, and much more. Along the way, she also began answering emails from women who wanted advice, and she now helps women find resources in their community and guides them on ways to give back by donating their wigs, bras, prosthetics, when they are done with them, to others in need. She has a new website in the works, a cancer travel site to help survivors find all the conferences, walks, and races around the country to support the cause. Hi, Bethany, and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. This is so needed, and I'm grateful to be able to chat with you today to make people more aware of your website and what you have to offer, because you're very right. Cancer can be a very costly disease, and it hits people when they're least suspecting that anything would happen. And so the resources that you offer are phenomenal.
It's true. It's amazing that breast cancer happens to have a lot of freebies. I wouldn't say we're actually getting perks for having our disease, but it happens. People write to me and say, I have lung cancer. Do you have freebies? Many of my freebies are for all kinds of cancer, but I do specialize in breast cancer.
Well, tell me about that. So I'm always interested when I meet somebody that's actually walked in your shoes and has heard those words, you have cancer. I'm always very interested about the diagnosis. So take me on that journey with you. Tell me a little bit about how it came about, and your diagnosis and your treatment plan, and where you are now.
Sure. So I went for my regular annual mammogram, and they found some little calcifications that they weren't even worried about, but they said come back in 6 months. But being a typical procrastinator, I waited about 7 or 8 months after I took my son to college. That Monday morning, I was in my doctor's office, and they said, well, those calcifications are gone, but there's 2 little lumps there that hadn't been there before. So I guess it was good that I still went pretty soon after, because I could have been waiting another year, and then who knows what would have happened. So one of the lumps was benign, and one of them was cancerous. Luckily for me, I only needed a lumpectomy, which was a nice thing. I'm happy about that. I had my lumpectomy. I did do chemo because it was an aggressive type of cancer. And then I did radiation. I did 5 years of oral treatment, and now I'm, knock wood, I don't want to say cancer free, but I guess I am, and in remission. And you always worry about it coming back, but at the moment I'm in a good place.
That's wonderful. And so once they removed it, so you just did chemo, you didn't have to do radiation, correct?
No, I did radiation also, yes.
Oh, you did do radiation also. Okay. And so how often do you go to the doctor now just for checkups?
Well, I graduated from my oncologist. I loved him, but he said, you don't need to come anymore, which was sort of nice, although it is nice to have someone checking up and doing those blood tests. So now I really go once a year for my mammogram, and I see my breast surgeon. So sometimes I feel like I'd like to know more of what's going on in my body, but unfortunately they don't really test you for other things. So who knows? We hope for the best.
That's right. And, it's interesting because I've talked to a lot of women that have said as horrible as it was to go through cancer, they really appreciated people checking on them as often as they did. You were getting blood draws for your chemo, or, when you went in for radiation, it was every day. And then all of a sudden, like you say, you graduate, and then it's okay, you're on your own, and we'll just see you for your mammogram, and that's it. And there's got to be some nervousness that goes along with that, some apprehension that just says, like what you said, what is happening on the inside of my body?
It's true. I actually, just a couple of months ago, I had a little spot on my leg that I kind of had ignored. Again, denial is a powerful thing. But finally, when I went to check it, it was a melanoma. So now I had that removed. And I did not know there was a relation between breast cancer and melanoma. I don't know why nobody really told me about that in all my research. I guess I just never really realized that. So I probably would have checked more often if I had known that. So women, check your bodies, go to your dermatologist. So I'm glad I went. They take it out. You don't have to do any other treatment. So that is a good thing. And now I have to go to my dermatologist every 3 months. It's always somebody.
Yeah. Well, but like you said, just being able to have that eye kept on you, that's not such a bad thing. So tell me a little bit. So why did you decide to start your website breastcancerfreebies.com, which is wonderful, by the
Sure.
way. I popped on there. It is so easy to navigate. And that's
Oh, thank
wonderful,
you.
because that is the one thing
Oh,
I've heard from women with chemo brain. Sometimes, you just don't think as clearly as what you need to be, but your website is absolutely wonderful. So tell me a little bit about why you
thank
decided to
you.
start that.
Okay, well, you can thank my husband. He's my webmaster, and he listened to my plan, and I said, this is exactly how I want it, and he did it the way I wanted. So that was a good thing. So I always love freebies. I'm always the one who's signing up for, you go to the restaurant 3 times and you get a free something, or on your birthday, you get freebies. So when I was in treatment, I started getting emails or looking on websites and seeing free things. So I started just jotting them down. And before I knew it, I had a really long list. And as a journalist, I said, here's something that doesn't exist on the web. Let me create this freebie site. And show women all the great things that are available for them. Why not? They're being offered. Let's take advantage of it. So I started collecting them, and I still have dozens and dozens more that I haven't had time to put on the site. There's just so many, and then people will send them to me, which I love. Send me your freebies. I'm happy to add them. Most of mine are national, but I do have a local resource section where I try to have as many different states and have some local ones there.
It's phenomenal. And as we talked about it at the beginning of the show, is that cancer sometimes hits you at times where, obviously, when you're least expecting it, but the financial drain that it can be on somebody, all of a sudden, they're making their insurance payments, and now they have to, buy a wig or the prosthetics for breast cancer. I mean, there's just so many additional expenses that you don't think about. And so I'm so grateful for me even to have this resource available that I'll be able to share with a lot of the women that we serve through our organization as well. And like I said, yes, please tell your husband big kudos, because it is very, very, very easy to navigate. Just that right-hand column that you can just go and click on exactly what you're looking for. That's wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
yes,
so,
even the copays cost a fortune for me. I have a high, copay, and it's like you have to go often, and it hits your pocketbook. So that's why I do have one tab that is financial assistance, where sometimes you can find scholarships for things. Sometimes you can find people who will give gift cards. There are grants for housing, rent, your electricity. It depends. Some of the things are for lower income women, but you have to just go on my website and apply to the ones that fit you. But also another great thing is that somebody can go on and order something for their sister or their mother or their cousin, and they can say, so-and-so has breast cancer. She's in treatment. She would love a pick-me-up. An organization like Chemo Accessories, which is an amazing one. They're in California, and they send out a beautiful, completely free set of jewelry, a hat, a turban, and a scarf to women in treatment. And it's just to make them feel good while they're going through this. And you can order one for your friend or cousin or mother.
wow. So what is the best freebie that you found? Like, of all of your research, like, what's the one that you said, oh my gosh, that's amazing? What's the best one?
Oh, there's so many. I actually would say Q Accessories is one of my favorites because women just love to get some nice jewelry in the mail. But I have some wonderful ones like there's lots of retreats, which are one thing where you can actually go away for a weekend with other women in your shoes and you can bond, learn something, just hang out and get away from cancer for a weekend. And you can look at that under my retreat section. There's one in Key West, Florida. It's a swim with dolphins that you can apply for, and you can actually free swim with dolphins if you're going to be in Key West. Go apply for that. And most of these were founded by or created by people who had somebody they loved who had breast cancer, unless it's a large organization, which some of these are. But like the dolphins one, it's called Oma's Swim with Dolphins. And Oma was someone's grandmother or mother, I think. And she just, inspired this. So they started this for other people who could swim with dolphins if you had breast cancer. So it's so nice that you're actually like doing something in memory of somebody.
And you carry their legacy on, which I think is so important.
Exactly.
So is it pretty easy to get most of these freebies? There are some where it'll say it's free and then there's like a 5-page application that you have to go through, or you have to put a credit card in order to be able to get these freebies. So is it pretty easy to get some of these resources that you've discovered?
Yeah, I would say not one I have seen you have to put in a credit card. So that's
Great.
a good thing. Most of these, often it's just click, send us your email, your phone number, whatever. But sometimes they do want you to fill something out and tell us where you were treated, who's your doctor. It's not necessarily that they're going to go check, but a lot of people want freebies, and we don't want anybody scamming people who really need these things. So I think I don't mind filling out a little bit, and sometimes you have to work for it a little bit, but also it might filter out. Like, let's say it's a scholarship, they want to give it to someone who really has a lower income. So occasionally there is an income base, but often there is not. Sometimes there's a waiting list, like there's different retreats, like Casting for Recovery is an amazing one where you actually go fly fishing, and it's all over the country. But you have to apply. I actually have gotten rejected a few times just because so many people apply. But
Wow.
keep applying, and you can apply in different locations too. So sometimes also another thing I will mention is all these organizations live on donations, and sometimes I tell people, like, if you loved it and sometime you come upon some money that you want to donate to a cause, give back to one of these organizations that gives freebies so they can give a freebie to another woman. Because sometimes people will call me or email me and say, could you please take us off your website? We're getting too many requests and we just can't keep up with it until we get a big donation. So that's, that could be a problem sometimes.
Wow. And I never thought about that, but you're probably right. If it's a good experience where you start to spread the word about this amazing resource and then people go after it, you're right. I imagine that they could get overwhelmed with requests.
Right. But then I love when they write back and say, okay, we're ready to put ourselves back on your website, because that means they've gotten some money or donation, and that's great. Also, on my Facebook page, which is related to breast cancer freebies, you can click on my website or just search for it. I post a lot of, quick things that aren't like long-term, because on the website, I try to have ones that last. But on Facebook, I might have 5 free books for someone or 5, antiperspirants people send me that are, no aluminum or things like that. So they're good for breast cancer patients. So I'll say first 5 people to email me, get these. So always check Facebook.
Okay, awesome. And so why do you think that there are so many great freebies for breast cancer patients, even more than other cancers?
That's a good question. I don't know. The whole pink thing with breast cancer, maybe because, breasts are so popular in our society, and it's a disease that has spent a lot of money promoting, the pink month of October, things like that. On football stadiums, the football players wear pink. It's like gotten to be such a national thing that we're so aware of. So I don't know exactly the answer to that, but I mean, it is great that we're taking advantage of this, but unfortunately, we'd rather really have a cure for the disease instead of all these free things. But
Yeah.
until we have that cure, we can enjoy some of the little perks of our disease.
Yes, agreed. And I'm grateful. Again, what I liked about the website, that what you did was you basically went out and collected all of these resources and put them all into one place. So these women that can actually utilize these resources and benefit from them can go to one place. They can go to breastcancerfreebies.com, and all of it is listed all in one place where they're not chasing it. So I think it's wonderful.
Exactly.
I think it's wonderful.
Thank you.
So